Before opening a grave, the master would taste the soil. Only if the taste was normal would he dare to open the coffin. But on this day, he encountered something terrifying. After tasting the soil from the grave, his expression became solemn. When he looked ahead, he found that the tombstone did not even have a name on it. He stepped forward to take a closer look. In the lower right corner, he saw a string of numbers. He then stood at the head of the grave to observe the feng shui. He felt an even stronger sense of unease. So he asked the client, who chose this burial site? The client replied that his grandfather was a hero of World War II. A monk had selected this site for him. Since tomb raiders were rampant at the time, the monk had arranged for the grandfather to be buried discreetly. The identity was not inscribed on the tombstone. Although the client's explanation made sense, the master hesitated repeatedly and ultimately declined the job. This left his companions in a panic. The client had offered a fee sufficient for them to retire after completing this job. Therefore, his companions demanded an explanation. Old Jean first calmed himself down and stated that in his 30 years of practice, he had never encountered such a malevolent location. From the start, he had sensed something amiss. The entire mountain was fenced off as private property. There was a heavy aura of darkness around the mountain peak. He also saw foxes near the cemetery. Foxes often use cemeteries as their dens. Koreans believe that the presence of foxes makes a location unsuitable for a cemetery. He concluded that this was a place where ghosts were bred. It was absolutely impossible to bury anyone here. If they forced their way into the graves, they might lose their lives. Though this was extremely dangerous, his companions refused to give up this opportunity. They approached the employer to discuss a plan. They also learned of the employer's predicament. Since his grandfather's wealth was buried with him, strange incidents had occurred one after another in the family. His father became paralyzed for no apparent reason. His brother developed mental illness and later committed suicide. The employer had previously consulted experts, but no one dared to disturb the grandfather's grave. Later, they moved to the United States. They thought that by moving far away, they could live in peace, but they couldn't escape their misfortune. His wife had 2 miscarriages without any warning. Now, after much difficulty, they finally had a son, but the child cried incessantly from the moment he was born. Even the best hospitals in the United States couldn't find the cause. If this continued, the employer would soon be in danger himself. So the employer contacted Hua Lin. She was a shaman with psychic abilities. From the child's pupils, she saw that there was a problem with the ancestral grave. She concluded that the grandfather's soul was suffering greatly, and was therefore causing trouble for his descendants. However, since she was not skilled in feng shui or grave digging, she sought out the masters. The employer honestly explained the entire situation. The master no longer held back. He said the numbers on the tombstone were coordinates. The corresponding address was the exact location of the grave. The monk had chosen this spot. There must be some secret he was hiding. When he heard that the employer knew nothing about it, he dared not act rashly. Just as everyone was at a loss, Hualin proposed a solution. She suggested exhuming the grave and performing the ritual simultaneously. After the master selected the time, they gathered 5 grave diggers born in the year of the pig. They smeared horse blood on their foreheads. Then their hair was stuffed into the pigs' mouths. This would transfer the evil energy to the pigs. Hualin then performed the exorcism. Everything was ready, and they began.